Hi everyone. I wanted to get on today and share a testimony with you of the Lord's protection and His hand upon my life and my son's life. 3 weeks ago today, we were at the local grocery store when an active shooter came in and shot and killed one person and shot and critically injured another. In the process of leaving the store, I lost my phone, and so I probably would have shared this earlier, but all the items were held at the local store until they reopened, which they opened up 2 weeks after the shooting. So I've had a lot of time to reflect on that morning. I've had a chance to really think about some things, and I completely see the hand of the Lord watching over my son and I. And so I want to just share that story with you so that I can, give praise to the Lord for keeping His hand upon us. So in Proverbs chapter 16, verse 9, the Bible tells us that a man's heart devises his ways, but the Lord directs his steps. And that is 100% what happened to my son and I on that morning. So he had requested for dinner that night that we have steak and asparagus. And so I was just going to run to the grocery store that's right by my house, but then I realized I had a bunch of stuff I wanted to drop off at the Goodwill. So I thought, well, I'll just go to the Goodwill. I'll go to the grocery store that's by Goodwill, pick up everything I need and come home. Well, he decided to come with me. And so we got everything loaded up. We went to the Goodwill, dropped off our stuff, went over to the grocery store, and we went in the side entrance, which is where I always go. And as we were walking in, I kept thinking, I need to go to the milk section because I have a path when I go there. I go in the side doors, I go to the milk, I go to the meat, and then I go to the produce. I do that almost always without fail, unless I'm stopping in there just for one thing in particular. And so as we were pushing our cart and, visiting and chatting, I kept thinking in my mind, we need to get cut off over to the milk. And we kept passing aisle after aisle and we still hadn't cut off. And I kept in my mind, I need to cut off. But we were just visiting, and pretty soon we were over halfway through the store. And it would have been silly at that point to backtrack and go to the milk. So we just ended up heading straight to produce. We had probably been in the store maybe 4 minutes and into the produce section just a few seconds when the first round of gunshots went off. So when we heard the first 3 gunshots go off, I asked my son, I said, was that gunfire? Because the store is really big and it's metal and it had just a really odd sound to it. And other people were just kind of, frozen as well. And we had thought maybe a forklift had dropped a pallet or something. But then just a couple seconds later, there was 4 more rounds that went off. And my son had looked over to where the cashiers were. And he said that they were all looking toward the middle of the store. And then everybody just started dropping stuff and took off running. So he grabbed my shoulder. He said, come on, Mom, people are running. We're out of here. And so we turned to run out of the store. Well, where we were in produce, we were really wide open if a shooter would have been there. And so as we were running, my son kept, turning and looking over his shoulder. He had a hold of my shoulder while he was running and looking over his shoulder to see if someone was coming out. It was probably a 6 to 10 second run at the most from where we were at to where we got out of the store, but it literally felt like an hour because as we're running, the gun just kept going off. We could just hear it behind us, and so we're running. We're kind of hunched up, not knowing if we're going to get hit. Once we got out of the store, we could still hear the gun going off, and our assumption was that someone was in there just shooting so many people. And we got about halfway through the parking lot, and I had to stop for just a second and take a breath. I honestly felt like I was going to fall. My leg was really really hurting, and then we just kept running. We got to the end of the parking lot, and there was a huge FedEx truck parked there. And I told my son, I said, I can't run anymore. My leg is just really, really hurting. I can't run. I said, I will hide here behind the FedEx truck. You keep going. And he was like, no, Mom. He said, I'm not leaving you. He said, you suck it up. You're coming with me. And so we ran across, there's a 4-lane that runs in front of the store there. We ran across that to a small conglomeration of buildings across the street from there. And that's where we began to take hiding. So when we were outside, there was about 6 of us that made it all the way across the street. And there was a little mechanic shop there. And so we were all kind of, hiding behind the corners of the different buildings. And the gentleman that owned the mechanic shop, he opened the door and he yelled at all of us. He said, you guys get in here. And so all 6 of us ran into his shop and he closed everything down. He had 2 different entrance doors. He closed and locked those. They had a big bay door that they had just had open because they had been draining a gasoline tank, and so they had us sealed in there, and very, very protected. We kind of joked afterwards that, we got out of the store, and escaped gunfire, but we didn't know if we were going to survive the fumes inside the mechanic shop because it was so bad. But anyway, they were the kindest people. They didn't know what to do with us. One of the people there was a woman with a small child, maybe a 2-year-old, and she was pretty much in shock. And she had left her coat and her purse, everything, and just had grabbed her baby and ran out of the store. But they had a box of granola bars, and they were running around trying to offer granola bars to each of us, and just to be kind and to try to just comfort us as best that they knew how. And I just so appreciated them, because honestly, one of us could have been the shooter and they wouldn't have known the difference. So after we were inside for quite a while, we were trying to catch updates on Facebook and things like that. We did learn that the shooter had actually walked out of the store. So of course at that point then there was a manhunt on for him. So my son and I realized that we weren't going to be able to get his car back, so we decided to walk around. The street was completely blocked, and we decided to walk around the corner, probably the distance of a couple of blocks, to a gas station, and my husband was able to come and pick us up there. And when he came, he told us later, he goes, "When I came around the corner and I saw both of you there and okay," he said, "it was one of the happiest moments of my life." So these kind of situations reach lots of different people, lots of different ways. And so we came home, and we're both fine and everything like that. But here's what I want to share with you. First of all, I have a normal path that I go through in that store, and I kept wanting to take that normal path, but was just getting sidetracked with our conversation. And when we went back, when the store opened, I had my husband walk through the store with me. I was able to get my cell phone back, and I just said, "This is where we came in, this is where we were, this is what we did." And we realized that where the gentleman that was shot and killed was where we would have been had I gone to the milk area first. And so when I was talking about the scripture in Proverbs 16:9, where man devises his ways, but the Lord directs his steps, the Lord directed our steps that day, because we would have been right next to where it happened. And we don't know what the outcome of that could have been, let alone just even witnessing something that horrible. The other thing that I learned was our church had a fasting program going on in February, and people were fasting, food and different items. Well, my girlfriend Lois, she was fasting from Facebook for 10 days. And I had posted on Facebook that, I wasn't going to have my phone because it was left there at the store so people could message me. I was able to do that on my personal computer, but she didn't see that message that we had been at the store during the shooting. And she had been texting me on Monday, and couldn't get a hold of me. And then when her fast finally ended, she was able to get on Facebook and see what had happened. So she messaged me, and I was able to get a hold of her on the phone. And she told me, she said, that Monday, she said, about mid-morning, I had the most powerful urge to pray for you. And that was right before we went, because the shooting happened at 11 o'clock. And so not only did the Lord direct our steps where we actually walked in the store, he had someone praying for us on the outside that didn't even know what was going on. And I have one last thing that I want to share in all of my reflection from all of this. One of my favorite stories in the Bible is the thief on the cross. And Jesus was crucified with a thief on either side. And the one thief realized that he was there because of his own deeds and his own doings. But he recognized that Jesus was who he said he was. And he didn't have time to get off that cross and go do great things and go live an amazing life or do all the things. He just had that moment. And he said, "Lord, remember me." And Jesus said, "Today you'll be with me in eternity." And that right there shows you the grace and the mercy and the love of the Lord. And so what I learned in my reflections of everything that happened, when we were running out of the store and gunshots are behind us and I can't run well, we're hunched up because we don't know if we're going to get hit with a bullet, In my mind, I was saying, Lord, is today the day? Is this going to be the moment that I go into eternity? And I remember praying, Lord, if there's anything between you and me that would keep me from your presence, Lord, let there be nothing between you and me. And my salvation is intact, but I found myself praying that. And that was a scattered prayer for me, because we're running, we're, scared. It's not, it's not a quiet moment by any means. And I often hear people say that they'll serve the Lord when they're older. They'll wait till they're on their deathbed. They'll get right with God then. What I want to share is, you may not have that kind of a moment. Your moment could come completely unexpected, and you could be drawing your last breath on earth, and your next breath is in eternity. And so what I want to share is that if you ever have thought like that, or you are thinking like that, to change that way of thinking, and to tell the Lord, Lord, I will follow you, because he does love you so much. God sent his son to die for you. He has a plan and a purpose for you, and he wants to use you. He wants to make an impact in eternity with the life story that you have. So I hope that my testimony has encouraged you. I hope that my message has given you some things to think about. And I just want to, again, say I'm so thankful for my friend Lois, who listened when the Lord put us on her heart. I'm so thankful for the Lord for redirecting our path away from the milk section. And I'm so thankful that we were safe and that we were protected. And I hope that this just ministers to your heart. I hope that it touches your heart. And that's my story. That's my testimony. Thank you.